We need a pointer.
Our team kind of drove around in vehicles. We had a couple of vehicles that, and what we were trying to basically figure out is a path to get to from the practice fields where we all started off at this morning to the Roy Guerrero Colorado River Park and the trails, and then on to basically downtown Austin from there on. And so the connectivity from there to there in the safest way possible to get to that location. So we basically have come up with 3 different scenarios, and I'm not sure if I didn't write this, so I'm not kind of looking at it for the first time. But basically, the 3 different scenarios is as follows, which is basically, here's the practice fields. The first one would be traveling down Felix. When we get about halfway down Felix, there's a road called Richardson, which basically has no development on its north side at all. It's maybe a couple abandoned houses, but there's no development, so we're thinking that would be an ideal place. There's not a whole lot of traffic. I think Pam had an idea of maybe even looking into getting a wider right-of-way here from the city, but these green hash marks here are some problems that we have run into, signage issues, things that might help. We have to inform the city about placing signages there. So that's what that green mark is there. Anyway, so we would be making the right turn here and then a left turn to head towards Montopolis. When we get to Montopolis, it gets a little bit problematic because at that intersection of Richardson and Montopolis, there's not a traffic light. There's really nothing to protect you from crossing the street, and it's a pretty busy street, Montopolis. There's a stoplight here on Ponca, which would slow cars down. It might give you some time, but we're thinking it would probably be safer to put a street light. You may have seen one on Barton Springs Road where the crossing that flashes yellow. I think now they've changed that to flashing red and to get people to make sure that they stop. So again, we would have to talk to the city. Budgeting and all that would probably be an issue, but so we'd be looking at a street light, a crosswalk, pedestrian crosswalk there. And then from there we would travel on to Richardson to head towards the hike and bike trails. I don't think we saw any problem with Richardson. It seemed like it had a sidewalk on the south side.
What we noticed here is there's a church. There are church properties. There's already a pedestrian warning sign there.
Yes, there is a pedestrian because I guess a lot of kids cross from here to there, so there's children's school crossing signs there already. And we also thought it would help, with people who want to walk to church. The fact that there's a church here in the corner here and a church here in the corner, it would help if people want to go from, to their respective churches. So it would help that whole community, I think, to have maybe something there for getting across safely. Anyway, so once we go down Richardson, we end up, this is actually a dead end here on Richardson, and it basically dead ends into city property, which is park property. And there's several trails here that are already, people have been walking and using them for years, I'm sure. So it diverges into 3 different options. There's a sign in front of this property that says Roy Guerrero
Nature
Trails, and so that would probably be that would definitely be a good introduction to walking here and then see nature trails and bike trails and all that. We're also looking at putting a street light there because I can imagine it gets pretty dark. There's not a light there, and some signs indicating where you could go from there, because we were thinking of putting a sign that would point that going this direction you go to AISD, you go to the Ruiz Public Library. And I guess there was a couple of other, of course, the park over here. The golf course, there's the park here.
Street.
And I think Pam and Stefan were definitely helped a lot in getting some parkland donated that they were planning on building a disc golf course. So that's also nature preserve.
No. We didn't get the parkland donated. We stopped the disc golf course from
being created.
It's created.
And it's going to be, their city will probably make that as a preserve.
Right.
At least that's what they're considering.
That's a possibility. So that would also be very good to point out.
That's the open area to the left of the road.
Yeah.
Yes, and
that's
it goes
28
right
acres.
It goes right into Grove Drive that runs all the way down here. So that was the first scenario to get us to Roy Guerrero. The second scenario actually has us going again, starting off at the practice field and making a right onto Valdez. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Valdez, and traveling northward, going towards Allison Elementary School, that ends up at Ponca, and then of course from Ponca traveling there. We've heard from community people who live along this street that there's a big problem with people driving fast through here between Vargas and Montopolis, and so these black marks here are for the possibility of getting the city to put road humps or something to slow the traffic down. I would imagine the person who lives there has been working on this for years. So, but I'm sure, we'd still put, bike lanes through there. We might get the city to move it up in a priority. So that would just be something we would have to work on. I think the gentleman that was with us had the idea of creating these red hash marks, I guess, between Ponca and Montopolis, like an entire, I guess, what would you call it? Like
He called it a crosswalking block.
Yeah, a crosswalking block. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, but he seemed to be very confident that it was possible. Nevertheless, so once we cross here, because there's already a traffic light here, so we wouldn't have to really do anything at this intersection. We would cross Montopolis, get to this long road called Kemp, which, there's, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of development over here, but there is going to be. Apparently there's condos and there's all sorts of signs here that a lot of this land is for sale. So there'll probably be multifamily buildings and pop up all along here.
Beautiful views of downtown.
And you can't use Ponca to access Guerrero Park because of.
Yeah, basically at the end of Ponca, it dumps into like a 20-foot ravine or creek, and then so you can't. That's not even doable. Somebody had the idea maybe a sort of pedestrian bridge, but I think
But it also floods.
But it floods and it may just be washed away, so it might not be a good idea. So anyway, so right now we're thinking of heading north on Kemp Street all the way to Clovis, and it kind of makes a right 90-degree turn there. Here, the original plan from the city is to cut this off, this Montopolis Bridge, and it'll become a Lance Armstrong bikeway eventually, so only bikes will run through here. And so this turn here, the city's already made it kind of I guess they made it into a concrete path from the bridge to about right here. And then from here, this takes you directly into the rest of this Roy Guerrero Park, the BMX bike lanes or whatever, and just from there on out. So we're thinking of, this little road here would have bike lanes on it. I don't know what, there needs to be signage here so the people that cross here are kind of like introducing themselves to Montopolis neighborhood and all the amenities that can be found in it. So that there would be a sign there. And
And it
probably
could also create a loop. I mean, essentially,
Right.
what we talked about.
Yeah. So I think that's basically about it.
Third scenario.
Oh, the third scenario, that's
Yeah.
right. We have a third scenario, which basically starts off south. It doesn't take off like all these others along Phoenix. It actually would start off somewhere down here, and I don't think we really hammered out how that would
We
work.
decided it would come from the trail that comes from behind the practice.
Behind the practice field, and this land here is I think part of the donated land along Watershed eventually. So anyway, so this is an easement of a gas pipeline and an electrical lines. We're thinking maybe the easement could be used as for the trail. This land here, it runs into, where is it, Allison? This land here is going to be, this is where it gets a little iffy because, this land here is owned by the church, I believe, although I'm not sure if the easement runs through the church property.
We were unclear about
Yeah,
that.
it's
Pam,
kind of iffy.
You're not clear about that either, right?
All right, we got 2 more groups to finish
Yeah.
by 4. You
Okay.
got 7 minutes.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine.
We're talking about right out here.
Get the hook.
Yeah, this basically literally outside this school. So the gentleman who was with us,
Noel,
who works at the Allison here at the school, was saying that this area used to be a football field or some sort of play ball ground of some sort. It's completely empty now. It's just outside this.
7 acres.
Yeah, 7 acres, and that his idea was to put the trail through here as well. He has an idea of having a community garden here, and so the trail would go directly to the community garden. And he has other plans, to have the children here at the school, working on all that. So, that would be an excellent idea, going through here. Now, this right here is Civitan Park, which is outside the building here. So, and there's already kind of a trail through here, so you're kind of a city park basically that you would be going through. The question here is this crossing, of course, of Vargas Street. There is a bike path or just a walking path that's already cuts through this private property. That would be another issue, having to talk to the private landowner, which I believe is in Houston or something like that, who belongs in Houston. So we would have to talk to them about crossing here. Of course, Noah was already saying kids cross that every day. That's how they get from this neighborhood to their school.
What about those cross things where you just push a button and then the light changes? They they're popping up more and more, like in Hyde Park and along.
Yeah, we have a crosswalk suggestion there.
Yeah, we have crosswalk
Yeah.
suggestions. There's not a street there to put a
Yeah.
traffic light. It's just
Yeah.
literally crossing the street into another empty field.
It gives a light and it stops the traffic.
Yeah, the red flashing light or something.
It comes solid red.
Solid red now, yeah, exactly. So that's definitely what we were thinking of there, is some sort of walking pedestrian crossing with the red lights. Anyway, once you cross there and get into this is called Saxon Road, which only goes into a dead end. This path will go directly into Saxon Road. From there, you would head north until you get to Del Monte, and then from there you would head this direction. This is the big problem right here, Montopolis.
But that's going to be cut off eventually.
This is going to be cut off again, coming into this way, but I guess still going this way would be somewhat problematic, because cars are still going to be traveling this way to get on 183.
It'll require some improvements.
Yeah. So once we cross this, basically we're back to where we were earlier on scenario 2. So that's about it. There's the
Thank
3
you.
scenarios for it.
All right, the